Hello, everybody, and welcome to Altasciences podcast. Today in our consultant series, where globally recognized consultants discuss how they're addressing some of the most pressing drug development topics, we're excited to welcome our very special guest, Dr. John Atkinson. John is the founder of Atkinson Toxicology Consulting, which is a consulting company who provides expertise to pharmaceutical companies in strategy, design, data interpretation, and management of non-clinical toxicology programs, supporting regulatory requirements, primarily with biologics from early to late stage development. John was also the former president of the American College of Toxicology. So welcome to the podcast, John.
Thanks, Noreen. I'm very glad to be here and look forward to our discussion.
So John, thank you very much for being here with me today. I thought in the beginning I would like to get to know you a little bit better and ask you a couple of very general questions. So the first one is, how did you get into drug development and more specifically into the consulting business?
Actually, that goes back quite a ways to when I was growing up, and I had exposure to the pharmaceutical industry from my father, who had been involved for many years during his career, and I knew that probably was the area and what I wanted to do. So in deciding after I got out of graduate school, I felt like the best approach would be to get into a situation where I could become exposed to many different facets of toxicology relative to species, types of administration, compounds. And so I decided to join the contract research organization, and certainly got exposed to a very broad spectrum of activities, and was very excited and decided that maybe I was going to stay in there for a while. But I got to the point where I felt like I was always on the periphery of things and always never had the complete picture of a compound as it went through its development process. And not that that was not satisfying, but I just felt like I would be more satisfied myself if I had the opportunity to be involved in the entire process of drug development. And so I had the opportunity to join a very large biotech firm, and took that, and certainly have been in the drug development business and on the industry side for over 20 years, and really gotten to know and experience a lot of different things within drug development. And so recently I made the decision that I felt like I wanted to have a little bit more control of my time and be able not only to enjoy the business side of things and having still the involvement in the science and working with advancing compounds through the development process, but also have the ability to enjoy my private time a little bit more and schedule that a little bit better than I used to when I was in industry. So that I've sort of made the decision that I would like to get into the consulting world that would provide me with those opportunities.
Great, thank you. I mean, I've known you for many years, but this is something I haven't known about you, about just your, previous exposure to the CRO world and everything. So that was very interesting. I think you kind of a little bit answered that question, but what is it that keeps you going? Like, what makes you come to work every day?
Sure. So one of the things that, I think anybody who's been, who's involved, in the science area has to realize is that there's so many unique things that are happening, and the developments that are ongoing are just extremely interesting. And so I get up every morning thinking, what am I going to learn new today, and what are the challenges going to be, and how can I help to get over those challenges? And that's really exciting to me, and so that's really what drives me.
So a lot of different consulting companies have different models that they follow. what is your particular business model? So when a company partners up with you, what is it that they can expect?
Yeah. So I guess maybe if I had to put a single term on it or describe it and with a single term is, I really like to act as their partner, to be able to work closely with them. It helps me as a consultant to better understand what their needs are, as opposed to more of just a transactional relationship where a client is looking to maybe have me look at a protocol or look at a report and provide comments. But what I really find works better for me, and I think in reality works better for the client, is to become a partner. Now, whether for them that means being more involved, like being a member of their project team, or whether it just means having more frequent conference calls to get progress reports on where things are going, that can be a different process. But overall, I think that the partner works very well.
Just more skin in the game kind of helps with
yes,
that.
I think that provides benefit for both the consultant as well as a client.
Yeah, I agree. So when a company is looking to hire a consulting company, what do you think that they should be looking for?
So I think that as a company, and I will sort of address that based on the fact that when I was, in industry and I would look for a consultant, these are things that I would tend to look for. Clearly, it's expertise. So you want to try and find a client that has the expertise that you're looking for. So for example, if the client is looking for help setting up a PK study, well, you really want to look for a consultant that probably has a lot of background in PK versus somebody who might be more of a general toxicologist. They may have knowledge about PK, but it obviously better serves you to have more of an expert in PK. Same goes for other areas like immunology, pathology. So I think clearly you want to, the client would like hopefully focus on the expertise aspect. I think the client also needs to understand a little bit of what bandwidth the consultant has to make sure that they're going to be able to meet their needs as far as timing, and to get that on the table up front and not necessarily find that out after the fact, so to speak, when they've already established a contract and relationship with you. So, and then to also understand the expectations or put forward the expectations that they have and make sure that the consultant is going to be able to meet their expectations prior to getting involved in a relationship. So,
thank you. So as part of your when you're working with the pharmaceutical company, are you involved in the process of a CRO selection? I imagine you would be.
Oh yes, a lot. Actually, some clients specifically would come to me to actually do more of a program management function where they may have studies that they need to conduct, and they don't really have anybody on board who's had experience either setting up the particular protocols that they need or really outsourcing those studies. And so I certainly feel like, given my experience, not only of being in previously having CRO experience, but also having industry experience, it puts me in a pretty unique position of understanding what maybe sometimes the pinch points are at a CRO when trying to schedule studies and working to try and overcome those. So I clearly am able to function very effectively in that role, sort of as a outsourcing expert to help clients get studies placed at CROs and selecting the appropriate CRO.
So digging into that a little bit more, what would be the top 3 things that you would look for in the CRO when partnering with a company?
Sure. And again, I'll go back to the way I used to do things when I was when I was in that position as a client. But and I'll say these are not going to be in any order of rank per se or any order of importance, but just three areas that I think are important. Again, I think it's expertise of the laboratory, making sure that the CRO that you pick has the expertise to conduct a particular type of studies that you're looking for, whether that may be a particular technique you're looking at, whether it be a lot of experience with the species you're looking to use, and or the particular area, whether it's bioanalytical, whether it's cardiovascular, because I think it's really critically important to get the right laboratory to conduct your studies in those particular areas. I also think turnaround time and understanding what historically turnaround times are for CROs from the time a study is over until they can expect a draft report that could potentially be used to submit in a regulatory filing is very important, especially to the client, because that's important to them for their product development. I also think that relationship is an important thing as well. You know, what relationships have you established with various CROs? Because again, I go back to what I was saying about expectations, is that if you have a previous relationship with a CRO, in particular study directors, you have already previously established a relationship where you know each other pretty well, know what your expectations are. And sometimes on my part, I don't need to do as much follow-up because I know that the study director I have knows what my expectations are for being informed about various things on a study. And I know that they're going to call me or get in touch with me and let me know what's going on, as opposed to my having to track down
reach out
and reach out. So I think those are the three main issues. Maybe if I have to add a fourth one, and I'm not saying that this is any less important than the others, but I would say quality and what the quality of the reports are that you get from the CROs. And so that would be another, if I had to add a fourth one, that would be another one.
Yeah, because, you know, if you get your report on time, but it's not a good report,
right?
You know, kind of, it goes hand in hand, like both on time and quality. Yeah, for sure.
And that's, in some cases, unfortunately, that's where consultants have to spend a lot of time, is when they're doing report reviews. And if the report is not of the quality that you expect, then you do spend a lot of time, and it takes a lot of time to go back and forth to maybe rewrite sections, or certainly work with a CRO to edit sections of the report to get them up to the quality that you feel is necessary to support the filing.
Well, because you also have such a wide experience of kind of seeing every aspect from, you know, initiation of the study to the submission of IND documents. So you kind of already know what language is expected to be and what would be the best to put into those regulatory docs. Yeah. Well, thank you. That was a very interesting discussion. So I wanted to pivot a little bit to the ACT, the American College of Toxicology, and ask you, because I did mention in the intro that you were president. So, Mr. President, I wanted to ask you, what is the mission overall of the American College of Toxicology, and how does that as organization contribute to the toxicology community as a whole?
Yeah, so just to give a little bit of background, a little bit of hype to ACT, it's an organization that was founded over 40 years ago, with the idea of providing professionals in toxicology with a forum for the exchange of information. And when it was first set up, the college was mainly to provide the interaction between industry and government officials and regulatory officials. But over the years, it's transformed and evolved, and now the ACT is very much of a global organization that encompasses members from academia, from industry, from regulatory agencies, from contract research organizations, and consulting firms. So it's a very much of a global community. Again, with the idea that the mission is to educate, lead, and serve the professionals in toxicology with the exchange of information and perspectives in the area of applied toxicology and safety assessment. And the college does this in a variety of ways. We do this through the conduct of an annual meeting that has numerous continuing education courses, seminars, and the ability to do networking with colleagues where you can really talk about the current topics in applied toxicology and find out what's new. In addition, the college now conducts educational courses throughout the year in the basic or advanced toxicology. It also has specialty courses in particular areas of applied toxicology. And then we also have the International Journal of Toxicology, which provides a forum for the dissemination of scientific data that again is global. So a variety of ways in which the college contributes to the field of toxicology and can educate its members.
I do have to say that the annual meeting, the ACT meeting, is probably one of my favorites. Just coming from my background as the non-clinical study director, that's where I get the most information. The sessions are always amazing and they're so targeted specifically to what we do. So I've always found them to be extremely educational and extremely helpful.
Yes, no, and I did too. And that comes from the first time I ever went to an ACT meeting many moons ago. But that clearly was a feeling I had as well. Mm-hmm. That I would go to the other big toxicology meeting, but that would be to get my fulfillment in basic research and more of the science, where the American College is more designed in the applied toxicology and how we do our jobs. And I think that's the difference, but it's also a very satisfying one where you can learn quite a bit that is very applicable to how you conduct your job. So
absolutely. So as part of your role as a president, what was your involvement? What exactly did you do as a president of the AC team?
So there's certainly numerous responsibilities actually, and I won't go into a whole lot of detail about the specifics, but actually the role of president is sort of a 4-year commitment, because you start out in a different role, so to speak. You start out as vice president-elect, then you're vice president, and each of those roles has some specific activities, typically oversight of various committees in the college, and so you run those committees. And as vice president, you're involved in setting up the meeting for the following year. And then you have your year as president. And so during that specifically, you serve as the face of the American College of Toxicology, not only to the membership, but also to outside organizations that the college is collaborating with. And as well, you oversee the council and the conduct of day-to-day business. And you're responsible for implementing the strategic plans that are in place for the college and what objectives the college is trying to accomplish for that particular year that you're in the presidency. And then maybe as I look at it and I look back on it, maybe one of the most important responsibilities as the president is to be sort of the ears of the membership and to bring ideas of membership back to council for consideration and potentially implementation, and look at ways that we can advance the college, whether that's in ways that we provide opportunities to the members of the college, or its long-term goals of what we want the college to look like 5 years down the road. So those, I think, are the major responsibilities of the presidency.
Thank you. You certainly speak with a lot of passion about the ACT, so I can see that it means a lot to you, and it was a big part over your life.
Yeah, it has been, and I've been involved with the college for over 30 years now, and it's always held a special place for me.
Yeah.
I think not only for the relationships that I formed and for the ability of contributing, but also because, it was very important to how I conducted my job and as a resource for learning maybe how to better do my job.
Oh, absolutely. I would absolutely have to agree with that. I think the amount of information that I have gained from going to the annual meetings is like, it can't be matched. There's something about being surrounded by people that do what it is that you do and have the same issues and problems and maybe solutions that you didn't think of, and just the science. Yeah. So thank you for serving as a president, because I definitely enjoy being a member.
Oh, great. Thank you. Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of wrap this up with just a couple of questions, just general questions. One, I know the answer to, but I'm going to ask it anyways. And I'm going to act really surprised when you tell me what the answer is, but what is it that you like to do outside of work?
Yeah, I figured you were going to ask that. So as everybody who knows me, and maybe as you can tell from looking at this picture in the back here, my passion outside of work is golf. So
what?
Yeah.
Golf.
So I think if I could have had a different career and was good enough for it, I would have probably tried to be a professional golfer. So
thank you. I did act surprised. That was completely unexpected. What is the motto that you live by? Is there a motto that you live by?
Well, yeah, no, I do. And I think basically it's, if you don't, and this is in its very basic terms, it can be expressed in a variety of different ways, but essentially, if you don't succeed at something, try again. And again, that's the very basic terminology. And I think that's something I've followed ever since I've been a little kid. Actually, I've always been driven to succeed. And I think it just reminds me that regardless of whether it's in business or personal life, if there's something you want to achieve and you try it and you don't succeed with it at first, get up off the ground, get back on the horse and try it again and continue to persevere. And you likely will be successful if you keep trying. So that's what I try and apply to my life in general.
Yeah. And the final question, what is the one fun fact about you that you'd like to share with our audience?
I think if there's something I would like to do with my life at some point, would be to hop on my motorcycle and tour the country.
Oh, that sounds so cool. I didn't know that you rode, so.
Yeah, I do.
Very cool.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, thank you, John. I've really enjoyed this discussion. I've known you for several years, but I feel like, there's a lot of things that I've learned about you that I didn't previously know. I really appreciate the time that you took to do this. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Be sure to check out our other podcasts and webinars and videos at Altasciences, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks, Noreen. I certainly enjoyed it.
Me too.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. Follow Altasciences on LinkedIn, SoundCloud, Spotify, and YouTube to stay up to date on the latest news, podcast, and webinars.